Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
You're goddamn right.
that was quite low energy.
Yeah, where's the energy from the crew, please?
I know.
It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
He used to do that.
Yeah, he did.
Sean used to do that all the time.
He used to do that all the time.
And it was like nails on a chalkboard
But he's been ground down.
by the monotony of this.
Coming up to 2 years of operating the podcast, and he's just jaded.
Absolutely.
Washed out.
We all are. We all are. Bad week for Russia.
Yeah, hell of a bad week.
Bad week for you personally,
Hell of a bad week to be in the Assad family.
which you are.
Yeah. It's been, I'm just
Cousin.
taking straight L's all week. Please, could I have one dub? It's just the North Korean faction clinging on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad in Syria. Yeah, I mean, it has been pretty bad in Syria, and I suspect will remain to be quite bad in Syria. It's probably how I feel about the news.
I don't know. I think we've seen what we know about Jelani is he's clearly like a secular modernizer. And what we've seen when there is these upheavals in the Middle East, particularly in recent times, that it all goes according to plan.
Things get better
Absolutely.
after a good old fashioned war in the Middle East. Yeah, so Assad, bad. My family links notwithstanding.
I know how hard that is for you to admit.
I've decided, I'm brave enough to say it now, that he has fled his country to Russia. I can come out and say it now.
You're one of the leading Assad apologists.
Famously.
So it's really brave of you to say that.
Yeah, white helmets, front organisation,
Yep.
not real.
Chemical weapons don't exist.
Never did. No, never did. All those facilities that the Israelis are bombing now, definitely no chemical weapons there.
That won't go wrong, will it?
Which is, I think, is actually probably a pretty significant plot point in all of this, is sort of what happens to...
That's Chekhov's gun, isn't it?
Yeah.
What happens if we explode the chemical weapons?
Because, like you said, right, the guy who leads HTS has been under great pains the last few years and recently to present himself as a secularist and as a modernizer, but was very definitely involved in Al-Nusra Front. Some not even just pretty, but concrete links to ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So when I say, it's good that Assad is gone, I'm not filled with... You almost, there's a tendency to sort of fall into binaries, right? Where it's like, oh, the bad guy's gone, so now it's sunshine and rainbows for the people of Syria. But I suspect they're probably going to continue to suffer. I mean, HTS is still into sort of Sharia law, and they are Islamist at their core. So
what Jelani said in an interview with CNN was he said to people who are worried about living under an Islamist government, don't worry, it will be a good one. Don't worry. The ones you've heard about, they've been bad. They've been the bad ones. This one is going to be a good one.
I love the idea of sort of a press secretary at HTS, like sort of relentlessly putting out releases about like Muslim charitable giving and like zakat, and being like, yeah, don't pay any attention to the corporal punishment.
No.
Is
the thing with like all these organizations do have like a press system.
Yeah.
You know like the Houthi spokesperson.
Yep.
Or like in season 2 of Serial, where Sarah Koenig's like, I phoned the Taliban.
Yes.
You're like, imagine being the Taliban fighter whose job it is to be the press contact.
Do you remember when they phoned Yalda Hakim when she was live on BBC News?
No.
Yeah, she was presenting something and her phone was ringing and she got it out and it was the Taliban, and so they just put them on air and she interviewed them on the BBC. Yeah, HTS pro Taliban. Mm-hmm. Yeah, keen on the Taliban. I think, but also just because you can't impose sort of the moral binary of is this good or bad, it doesn't mean you shouldn't. I don't think you can watch the videos of those people being released from the prisons. And obviously, I suspect, there will be a few actual sort of ISIS fighters amongst them. But there's also a huge number who are just politically engaged civilians who are critical of the Assad regime, who were, either tortured, executed, the ones that weren't executed getting released. Mm-hmm. It's very emotional watching those videos.
Definitely, because obviously, although you don't know what's going to happen, there is the chance that something positive we built it out of it. You saw the interviews at like the demonstrations by Syrians who sought refuge in Britain, in Manchester and London, and these people quite emotionally talking about wanting to rebuild their country, and if they get the opportunity, I'm sure what they would. It's not that they want to go back and help contribute to a theocratic regime. They want to go back and build like a secular democracy. That helps. So
I'm not sure they'll be able to.
It's all to play for.
Yeah. As the Islamists take over Damascus. Yeah, it's a sandbox right now. Who knows what will happen? I think we have a bit of an idea of what's going to happen.
Do you think this is like wave 3 of the end of history? And at this point, we're not falling for it anymore.
Oh, yeah. Fuck Fukuyama.
Fuck him. But as in like, post Cold War, we were like, well, liberal democracy for everybody.
Oh, okay, right.
Arab Spring, we're like, well, this time
it's definitely over.
It's definitely liberal democracy. And now we're like, well, we're not getting our hopes up. Even
history is so back.
History. Good thing. Great news. The world's interesting again.
Yeah, has been for several years. I mean, the fucking sometimes. Weeks happen over years, and then years happen in weeks, and it does feel the sort of the pace of change in terms of geopolitics, particularly in the Middle East in recent weeks, but more globally as well, with the Russians using that sort of potentially. It can be an intercontinental ballistic missile, but obviously they just fired it regionally. It does feel. I think this is possibly the most dangerous the world has been. I'm going to say in our lifetimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say in our lifetimes. Yeah.
Yep.
I was having a very interesting conversation with someone at the weekend who I can't name, who was talking about.
Why can't you name them?
Because it was at a conference whereby a rule set called the Ditchley rule is in effect, where you're not allowed to attribute. You can talk about the theme of discussions, but you can't say.
Right.
It was basically like World Economic Forum stuff. It's the sort of thing.
You're in the WEF?
Yeah, but it was at a stately home in the Cotswolds, and if Charlotte Gill finds out about it, it will be.
Oh, it's the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah, it's that kind of energy, right? Black tie dinners and stuff. And they were saying that the world doesn't realize when the Russians were withdrawing from Bakhmut in Ukraine. There were top-level strategic decisions being made in the Kremlin about whether or not to use tactical nuclear weapons. And the only reason it didn't was because of back-channel communications, the sort of nuclear de-escalation channels that exist between the West and Russia, because Western intelligence services got wind of the discussions and stopped it from happening. And he said it was the closest we have come to the deployment of nuclear weapons since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Jesus.
If not 1945. He put it on a par with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah. And then the follow-up from that discussion was that basically no one's prepared to have this conversation, but essentially the world is going to have to rearm. That non-proliferation is over, essentially.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Oh, what a time. It's a good thing that the British Army chiefs are like, yeah, we're fucked. Absolutely. We could not stand up. If we went to war, there's absolutely no hope for us.
No, that guy in the select committee was like, we would be fighting in Eastern Europe tomorrow if necessary.
Yeah, but he didn't say we'd win. He was just like, oh, we'd do it. And we would be defeated. And we'd be like, all our men would be killed within a year.
There is a difference, isn't there, between fighting and winning. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, they would fight. Sure, they would lose.
Get fed into the meat grinder.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, Cummings already when he's, I don't know if you noticed, Dominic Cummings has been back out doing sort of minor, like speaking at foundations and Oxford colleges and stuff. And the interviews are on YouTube. You can watch them, and he hammers this point regularly about sort of fiscal events in the UK being essentially a fiction, because there are ginormous classified budgets for Trident and our nuclear stockpile. And genuinely to the tune of tens of billions of pounds, comparable to some of the bigger government departments in terms of their spending. And so the version of the budget that gets presented to you is essentially a nonsense. It's because huge parts of it are omitted. And if we are to rearm, and we probably need to, because the things that have leaked about Trident, the last 2 tests have both failed. So it's not exactly a vote of confidence in the effectiveness of our submarine-launched ballistic missiles. that it's probably at least another 50 billion quid, if not more, to kind of, and it takes years to spin back up, enriching the nuclear material you need to weaponize it. So some pretty lofty stuff in the pipeline. Feeling good? This is a cheery pod, isn't it? Usually when it's dudes rock, it's just outrageous, Sadiq Khan's, yada yada yada. And I don't think we're even 10 minutes in.
No, this is and Bashar,
it's the end of non-proliferation.
Bashar Al-Assad.
Very good.
We've done that, and now we're back to the misery.
just to be clear, you're calling him Bashar Al-Assad.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah, I guess so. You've said it on the pod.
Excellent. Gislani.
That's the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, we just sit around naming
jihadists. You have to. I am impressed with their rebranding.
Who? Jihadists?
HTS. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, they've had a blue sky meeting. Everyone, no laptops, no pens, no paper. I just want ideas. Guys, Al-Nusra is toxic, okay? Yeah. We need to detoxify the brand.
The problem with ISIS was that there were 3 or 4 names, and one of them was Daesh, and no one knew which one was appropriate, and Daesh doesn't really mean anything in English. So what we need is 3 character acronym, despite the fact our name has like 4 or 5 letters.
Yeah.
HTS sounds like
Hayat Tahrir al-Sham.
But it sounds like BTS. So people are
that's what it is. They've gone for a K-pop angle.
Do you think they're moonlighting?
Oh, you think it is BTS?
No. Do you think they're trying to build like S-pop?
So in the meeting, they were like,
Jelani, you've got some hips on you, pal.
Jelani's going to do lead vocals. Look, guys, it's K-pop with AKs. It's a K-pop.
That's good. That is good. If they started like, see, genuinely, if militant Islam had like a K-pop factory, it would do wonders for their like global image, because you'd get like millions of teen girls going out to bat for them.
Would you? Do you think so?
I think so.
Right.
Well, you saw what happened with the Bin Laden letter.
It was always that they did fucking lap that up, didn't they?
No,
it was one of the problems actually with the ISIS execution videos. Obviously, incredibly,
they weren't singing.
No, they were singing, and that it was. I don't know if you ever listened to. Did you ever listen to With Sound On? The backing tracks were bangers, like genuine bangers. Really, really good.
Like Diplo.
No, no, not like.
Or like free music.
Not like Diplo. I'm thinking about whether or not we'll insert some in the pod, but
some execution videos.
No,
probably not.
Not the video, the audio. But I also don't think we'll be able to do that because I don't speak Arabic, but I'm pretty sure they're singing about jihad when they're singing,
and that must be against YouTube's terms and conditions, unless there is
calling
bans.
your audience to jihad prohibits our terms of services. This conflicts our holy war policy. Yeah. So basically, Assad asks the Russians, he sees it's going south, he asks the Russians to help him. Mm-hmm. They politely decline because they're overexposed in Ukraine. Yeah, they don't really have anyone to spare. Iran doesn't help him out, and so he turns tail and runs. Hezbollah as well, preoccupied. It really is I think we've said on the pod before that this is a moment where all actors in the Middle East are seeking to sort of redraw the political balance of power. And it certainly seems, to me at least, that the sort of Western interests, be they the sort of the direct ones of Israel or indirect via Turkey, are very successfully redrawing that balance in their favour. Mm-hmm.
Should we talk a bit about what the war in Syria has done to British politics?
Yeah,
the past 10 years.
Idea, yeah.
Because I think one of the defining images of British politics over the past 10 years is the imagery of people, refugees coming to Europe, whether that's bodies washed up on beaches, people trying to cross the Channel, people living in the jungle at Calais. And I think that allowed the right to erode the distinction between economic migrants and refugees and allowed people to say, for example, with Brexit, we need to leave the EU because immigration is out of control, while using images of refugees, two totally distinct points, but allowed them to, it's a much more powerful image, or a much more like emotional image is, and a much more racist image as well, as if you have hordes of like brown people coming to this country, if that's what you're presenting as this is immigration, as opposed to like Polish plumbers coming to the UK. One is a lot more emotive than the other.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Eurozone refugee crisis is driven by the sort of when the Syrian civil war really gets going in sort of 2015, 2016. That's when you remember the picture of the sort of infant boy face down on a beach, drowned, and the rest. And obviously, Germany agrees to take in 1 million. A lot of the Nordic countries do as well, and we take a few in the UK. And interestingly, actually, I saw a drone shot of a traffic jam of people going back to Syria.
Yeah.
Because there's been a ton of Syrian refugees in Turkey, where they've also had a very, very bad time of it. The Turks like racially abusing them and stuff. Worse than that as well, attacking them. And with the fall of Assad, people have genuinely like got in their cars to return and try and go back to their homes. I think in the sort of context of British politics, maybe the defining, broader than British politics, European politics, or maybe the politics of the West, is that the kind of perhaps the defining characteristic of our modern times is this movement of people, whether it is inspired by war and state failure, whether it's inspired by natural disasters, which I think will be a bigger driver in the future, climate refugees, although, as discussed, history's back, so maybe there will be a few more sort of war-based crises, and that there's an inclination to always consider or think about the flow of people as inward. But it's entirely possible that, a pretty significant of these Syrian people now leave Germany, now leave the UK and return if they judge the country to be safe enough for them to go and try and rebuild their home nation.
I suppose about like psychologically, if you are designated a refugee, you are always as welcoming as like some people like to be towards refugees. It's always, you're defining your relationship to that place. You're not of that place. You are, by definition, an alien there. So it actually must be very hard to integrate if you don't speak the language, things like that, cultural differences. So if you can go back to the Syria that you grew up in as well, that's a much more attractive proposition than staying somewhere where you don't know still.
I'll be interested to see what the outflow of people is.
There was interviews with young teenagers who had been born in Syria but were taken to the UK, and they were just like, I'm excited to go to Syria. I've never been excited to see my family that are there.
Yeah, man. Imagine that being your life. Imagine that being your relationship to your place of birth. It's just bleak, isn't it?
Just being part of a diaspora, but like not a voluntary one.
Fuck. But yeah, definitely had an impact on British politics. I mean, someone's really flushing that toilet.
I know. I don't think they can ever hear it on the mics though.
I like to reference it.
Yeah. We could just pick holes with all this production quality.
You look well. You look well today, Ed.
I don't know. We don't know if that's true.
Sean said you look well.
I don't trust him.
Full stop.
Yeah, he's an Irishman.
That is outrageous. You gonna take that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think about Miliband, not voting to bomb Syria.
Yeah.
And the sort of the establishment of the apparent protocol that Parliament actually could exercise some sovereignty about the sort of the foreign policy of the British state, and that the British state wouldn't conduct military intervention without the consent of Parliament, or at least the ones we know about anyway. was an interesting one, and that actually, whether or not this was the case, my interpretation of it was that it actually gave the Americans pause for thought as well. That without our participation, Obama then went to Congress, and even though Assad had crossed his red line of the use of chemical weapons, I think he gassed about more than 1,000 people, still not bombing them. And I think that sort of post-Libya, post-Iraq, post-Afghanistan, the sort of, that responsibility to protect, interventionist mindset that kind of characterized
Blair.
Yeah, Blair, certainly.
It's like late 90s, it's like 90s up to,
Yeah.
2005?
There's a really good book. I can't remember. It's by John Kampfner or John Pilger, called Blair's Wars, that documents his sort of progression of military interventions throughout his prime ministership, and how he essentially sort of, his thesis is that he kind of, after Sierra Leone and after Kosovo, he kind of gets this almost like messianic feel that, when he gets off the plane and people are like shouting Tony at him, and people are naming their kids Tony Blair because of him, and that he sort of almost feels omnipotent, that wherever the Great West goes, we can save the local population, which then obviously leads to the dramatic and extraordinary overreach with Iraq, which is well worth anyone's time if they want to know more about it.
Do you think, so that would be informed also by Blair's, Blair probably had like a messianic image of himself after winning the election, as well as ending the scourge of conservatism after however long. Do you think there's a danger that Starmer is going to think, holy shit, I need to
start a war? This
worked for, Blair was doing it, so why don't I intervene?
Yeah, I don't know. We've joked before on the pod that on your 2024 bingo card is sort of Labour government starts a legal war somewhere. I'm not really sure
if they got the guts for it,
or where he would choose.
So to start a war.
Yeah.
It would be easiest at the moment to start one in Syria.
Get them while they're down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like right. If he's funneling money into HTS, which he's not.
Yeah.
I feel like you say.
There's also, some pretty significant questions about our involvement anyway in the war in Gaza, and the use of, there's sort of British flights, our planes taking off from Akrotiri and sort of doing 6-hour sorties over Gaza, which they've previously said were sort of dropping off supplies, but obviously you don't really, if you're dropping supplies, you don't
drop them from the sky,
circle the Gaza Strip for 6 hours and then go back. So there's sort of questions about sort of whether we're providing intelligence to the Israelis or not. So, but I don't think that fulfills the criteria for me. I'm not looking for sort of covert, special forces and black ops stuff.
No.
I'm talking sort of,
boots on the ground.
18-year-old Jeff from Preston being sent to go and...
You want to have a new Helmand province.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to know an area of the country well. You want to learn about a nation.
I want to know it well, and I want to deploy militarily poorly.
You want to watch a film in 20 years about that conflict.
Yeah.
And that region is Andalusia.
Spain.
Yeah. Could be over Gibraltar.
I don't think we'd go to war for Gibraltar, do you?
I think we'd have to. It's British territory, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
In a so Starmer, to prove his Eurosceptic credentials in a post-Brexit world,
sends the Marines
Spain
to the Rock.
Next Spanish election, the far right win. Take Gibraltar.
The Spanish can be quite punchy about Gibraltar.
Yeah.
They think it's theirs.
Yeah, they're not happy about it at all. Fucking it is.
Yeah.
If it was yours, you'd have it.
I don't know, with these Spanish-speaking peoples and their delusions of ownership over bits of land near their country.
The deluded Hispanic soul.
Lost Hispanics, yeah, failing to recognise the colonial might of the British Empire.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I read some good pieces about Gibraltar and its economy and sort of how it's struggling post-Brexit. There's a strong sort of international thread of commuting People that sort of go in and leave for their working days. There's quite a lot of companies domiciled there for tax purposes as well.
Lots of gambling companies.
Yeah, lots of gambling companies. To be honest with you, it feels. I think you may have pitched me once to go there. Did you? Is that right? It has Ed Campbell written all over it.
I would go.
Yeah,
if you're offering.
Would you? Would you?
I could have a laundry list of ideas of places to go.
Did you pitch me the Chagos Islands as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. And also Ibiza.
Yes.
Or a hot place. Or no, it was the Costa del Sol. I think.
What was your idea for the Costa del Sol?
Like the most, like inverse extreme Britain, like the most Brits outside.
Yes.
The UK. Yeah,
that would be a good piece.
And just go to like a calf.
And it would be
like Barry's calf.
I think it would be right for me to dispatch you in winter as well, rather than.
No. Absolutely not. Should we tease what I did on Thursday?
You should definitely tease that.
So I went on Thursday to a place called the Porn Star University, where I met some rookie porn stars, some more established adult content creators, and talked to them about what they do, why they do it, what they get out of it.
Asking for tips.
So if you go to link in bio, let me know what you want to see. I'll tease one. I don't want to talk about the whole thing because I think the video is going to be really good.
Well, we'll talk about it when the video's out and people
Yes.
can watch it. Yeah,
But I think I'd like to talk about Ryder, who
is a person.
is a guy. It was a great name for a porn star, just Ryder.
Is it with an A?
Yes.
Like Flow Rider.
RYDA.
It's RYDA.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Like
This guy sounds pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty sick. And even cooler. Up until 8 weeks ago, he was serving a prison sentence for armed robbery.
Okay.
And this guy gets better and better. And now he's having sex for money on camera.
How strong is the
Prison to OnlyFans pipeline?
Yeah.
I don't think it's very quick. Because like he still has an ankle tag on. And
do they shoot him from the knees up?
no, it's part of it.
It's part of it.
That's part of it.
Immersive.
So basically, what I found out is that if you're a guy you want to do OnlyFans, even if you're a straight guy, the only way to make any money is like doing like gay for pay content. You don't necessarily have to like have sex or like do stuff with other guys.
How is it?
But it helps. But like you
It's not. Well, if you're not, forgive me. I may just be a sort of ignorant prude, but is it gay for pay if you're not doing gay stuff? Presumably, you have to be gay.
But you can have boundaries of gay stuff. Like if you and your friend, say you filmed a video, and it was like, hey man, look at this really hot porn I found on my phone. Let's stick that on and let's wank together. That's like gay for pay stuff. So Ryder actually provided quite illuminating commentary on the prospects of prisoners post and their employment rates post prison.
Well, it's pretty hard to get a job, isn't it?
Yeah. And
8 weeks after an armed robbery, sentence has been served.
So I asked him, I was like, what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't doing this? And he said, I'd probably be working on a building site and committing crime.
Yeah.
And then I said,
there you go. There's Keir Starmer's crime fighting strategy.
And OnlyFans.
We need to get these men OnlyFans.
But then he said, I asked as well, were you concerned about like the stigma of becoming like a adult performer, like a sex worker? And he said, there's probably more stigma about armed robbery.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Which
wrong.
is great.
But that's interesting, isn't it?
We stigmatize armed robbers more than porn stars.
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Appropriate levels of stigma.
Yeah, no, I think we've got I think that's calibrated correctly.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to worry too much about that. No, just the popularization of OnlyFans, and I don't mean that as in I understand the dynamics of people watching porn. I don't need that explained to me.
Well versed.
Just something of an expert myself. But the fact that everyone is basically a porn star now.
I'm not sure that's true.
Well, you've got an OnlyFans.
That's not true.
No. Genuinely, the popularity of this app, which I believe is the only British unicorn company we've successfully created in the last 10 years or so. I think if someone from the past came here in a time machine and I wanted to freak them out, the thing I would say would be, yeah, like everyone does porn now. Because you don't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be your full-time career. Like Lily Allen is actually a pretty good example for these purposes. She now makes more selling pictures of her feet than she does streaming her music on Spotify. And equally, I know there's the celebrities, there are people who are very famous, but there are thousands of people who are just, you know, have regular jobs, don't have that many followers, but are creating adult content. I think that is a ginormous change in social attitudes. But I really do.
I don't think there has been a change in social attitudes necessarily. I think people were would still stigmatize someone if someone's doing like actual porn, like Lily Allen stealing pictures of her feet. You're like, well, that's kind of cynical. Cynical, get your bag. She's not posting full porn. I think if she was posting like sex tapes, she would be stigmatized and slut shamed. I think there's also what people are attracted to about when people talk about OnlyFans is like the success stories, is like what's her name? The Catch Me Outside girl. Do you know what I mean? The one who she launched OnlyFans when she was 18, which is obviously the grimmest thing in the world, and she's making like millions of dollars now. But for every her, there's like 1,000 like girls who are making OnlyFans and putting quite. I actually think there's people who don't necessarily understand what they're actually doing, and I think the average earnings for an OnlyFans account is about £150 a year. It's nowhere near as lucrative as.
Well, I think that if anything, that reinforces my point. You know, can you imagine a Britain of 30 or Thatcher's Britain, that thousands of people are
amateur porn stars
producing homemade pornographic content and then publishing it publicly for money, making, I don't know the figures, you said 150 quid a year. So make for £150 a year. That I don't think they would. I genuinely think the sort of liberalisation of attitudes towards sex, body image, and also commodifying your body. I think it's changed dramatically in the smartphone internet information era. I think and I don't think you have to be a genius to draw the line between the popularisation of posting selfies, posting pictures of yourself in your swimwear, you know, whatever, and getting the validation and dopamine release from posting those images. I don't think it's a million miles away to then go, oh, okay, well, I'll just post some, you know, softcore stuff on OnlyFans and I'll charge people £5 for it. I think it really is an extraordinary shift.
There's also the way I think you consume casual sex as well. Like in Thatcher's Britain, there wasn't a way to send a dick pic.
Well, Polaroid in the Royal Mail. Yeah, right. for a man lacking your erotic imagination, Ed. Yes, you're right.
So, what is this?
Spoken like a man who's never blackmailed anyone.
What's the blackmail? I'm going to keep sending pictures of my dick unless you give me money.
No. Okay,
unless you send me a traveller's check. I've got 500 Polaroids and you're getting one a day, pal.
No. It's quite funny.
No, I've still not received it yet. Up to the post office handcuffs.
Bludgeoning someone into submission by sending them your own nude photos.
Horrid.
Look, it's a novel strategy.
Horrid, isn't it?
Yeah. Aren't I disgusting? No. I get compromise on you.
Right.
Picture the scene. You're I don't know. You're doing some Max Mosley type stuff, right? You know, you're dressed up. It's bad, really bad, really bad for you.
Horrid.
It's morally repugnant, right? But I just so happen to, you know, have a deal with the sex workers you're involved with, where on the other side of the mirror, I'm there with my Polaroid camera, snapping away.
We're in a room with a one-way mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
The joke's on you because you went hammer and tongs in that room, Ed. All right?
What's wrong with making love?
Yeah. Anyway, so weeks pass. I've got the film developed because that's how long it took back then.
You've been in the back room for days.
Yeah, you've been out living your life. You've gone back to your wife and kids, and
Yeah.
you run like a fucking FTSE 100 company or whatever. And then,
I like this version of it.
do you? You like the version? You're
Well, I like
familiar
the
with what
51
Max Mosley was dressed up as when this was
Oh,
happening? Yeah,
sorry.
No, you shouldn't say I like this
I
version.
heard Maxim posing. Like, Maxim magazine. Like,
Oh no.
sorry, Max Mosley. I
Yeah.
like this less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're doing. It was
He's
a Max
dead, isn't
Mosley.
he?
Yeah, he's dead.
Okay, we can say what we want then.
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah.
And then you've come in, I don't know, it's 6 a.m. You're getting ready for a big day on the markets or whatever. You've had your double espresso, you've smoked a couple of ciggies, and then on your desk, your PA has placed your in-mail for the day. Brown envelope, address, your name is on it in cut-out letters from the paper. Security haven't flagged it stupidly, and you open it, and there's a selection of photos of you compromised.
Right.
That's how I would blackmail you.
Okay. So how would I respond to this?
By doing the same with the photos you've already taken of me
Yep.
and that you are holding back, so that if it's kind of like mutually assured destruction.
So in this film, this film is really about the Cold War, isn't it?
As an allegory,
Yeah, I think it's good. But anyway, back to the casualness of sending dick pics. But I think like the people's freedom with engaging in sex with strangers, whether that's digitally, whether you have apps like Fuel or Grindr to encourage like casual sex, if someone said, well, I hate to go back to the 1990s, we've moved on. But if someone's like, oh yeah, this person I'm dating sent me in the post a Polaroid of her boobs. You'd be like, what are you talking about? But then
I think they probably, I imagine they probably just had to give it to you in person, wouldn't they? If someone you were dating,
would that be weird?
If someone you were dating,
that must have been weird though.
no, I don't think so.
No,
Someone you were dating, it would be weird if they posted them to you. I agree with you there. No, I think if someone you were dating, I don't know, Ed, you're running your FTSE 100 company.
Yep.
Business calls you to Argentina.
Right.
You're going away for a long time. And did I say you were married in the scenario? I can't remember.
yes, but I think it's a new scenario.
No, it's the same one.
Oh, so I'm still dressing up like a Nazi to have sex.
No,
Okay.
no.
So you think that's like a crucial part of my identity?
No, okay. So that did happen, but it's not germane to the story
Okay.
to the scenario I'm creating now. So you're going away. Your body, your wife didn't find out about the sex dungeon stuff.
Okay.
You were pleased with that, and to make matters even better, before your month-long trip to
Right.
Buenos Aires, your final night with your wife, she gets out a Polaroid camera, she takes some saucy pics, you are romantically entangled with each other, and then she sends you off with the Polaroids as a little memento mori.
Right. That is different to what I said.
No, I know. That's. I was just you were suggesting.
You're just enjoying these various everything everywhere all at once scenarios where I am caught. Where you're just imagining me having sex and someone takes a photo of it. That's the only thing that's happening here. Like none of these discussions have pertained really to anything that I've said.
No, they do.
No, they don't.
You were saying that no one would ever send like a sexy photo, and I said you're
In the
right.
context
No
of,
one
like,
would
what-
post it. No one would post
no,
that,
in the-
but they
in the-
they would still do it.
In the context of the casualness,
Is your
of-
position that no one had ever taken an erotic picture before 1990?
That's not what I said. People were creating beautiful art from predates Christ erotic art. Everyone knows that. And God is it lovely.
Yes.
But I think it's enabled the smartphone has enabled us to create and distribute our own beautiful erotic art.
Speak for yourself.
Tasteless smart. with much more ease. There's a casualness to this. And I think like if you were like fucking distributing nudes to strangers, then you're like, well, might as well get paid for this. That's a decent pick.
Do you think anyone's had that response?
Oh, core.
No.
That's a decent
I
snap.
think I think the thing it makes me think of is COVID. When people who weren't in relationships were kind of casually dating and, you know, meeting up illicitly, breaking lockdowns to go and have casual sex. And
dogging was on the rise. Do you know what they call that in France?
That's your next dispatch, I think.
Do you know what the French word for like swinging and dogging is?
I suspect it's something ludicrous that you're going to have a problem with, and your crusade against the sexual appetites of the French can continue.
They call it libertinism.
It makes more sense than dogging.
But I think it gives it
it.
It gives an air of like intellectualism.
Yeah, that scans. They do stuff like that.
Well, the French.
That's very on brand for them.
It is, and I think it's.
I think
it's another thing on the list.
Okay, if we're in the brand meeting, we've done HTS, right? We've gone rebrand done for HTS. No longer on Nusra front. It's HTS now. Oh. Off you go, Jelani. Stop wearing the Islamic clothing.
Go for like a Castro style.
Yeah,
uniform.
Baseball cap, military fatigues. Do a couple press conferences about earthquakes. Right, that's you. Done. Next, right, the doggers are in. And if I presented to you
some words.
Okay, so this is the pitch, right? They come in and they say, our community of casual sex havers, we're looking to jazz up the terminology, the vocabulary we use to describe the acts that we indulge in. Mm-hmm. We've got two working concepts. One is dogging, one is libertinism. What do you think we should go for?
Okay, well,
I would say libertinism, personally. I don't know. Obviously, you know,
but we're honest.
We're a marketing partnership, but you know, I'm surprised that you have more of a problem with libertinism than dogging. Like, what does dogging mean?
But dogging sounds grim.
Is it not? Yeah.
So that's my point. Libertinism gives it like a sexy intellectual heft.
You're in a car park in a National Trust property.
Like I'm actually, I'm the heir to the Marquis de Sade. Like by going dogging, that's what you're suggesting. Instead of just I'm putting a mask on. I'm getting a blowjob in a lay-back.
Do they always wear masks? I thought they just did that in the Channel 4 documentary to hide their identities. I don't think they're always wearing those animal masks.
Let's go dogging. I've got my Rottweiler mask on.
You turning up with like a fucking elephant mask.
You're wearing your
Terry and Jill from down the road looking at you.
Your Pete Doherty red jacket on.
Yeah.
Ready for dogging.
I'm a libertine, yeah.
I've prepared something for you for our last segment.
Please, Ed.
It actually kind of pertains to this.
Okay, let's go.
So you know the man who shot the United Healthcare CEO.
Well, famously, no, I don't know him. Well, no one knows who he is
because he's wearing a dogging mask.
He wore an elephant mask that disrupted all the CCTV.
Who was it that used to wear like Nixon masks to commit crimes?
Isn't that Point Break?
Oh, is that not real? I thought that was a thing.
You confusing anything you see on TV for real events. Being shocked visiting America after having watched Independence Day.
What? When the aliens are... And you survived that?
Yeah, extraordinary.
So how was Bill Clinton the president at the same time? This is actually pertains quite nicely in a way that I didn't think it would.
Okay.
Did you know people have been writing erotic fan fiction about him?
No.
And do you know what's on two sides of there's 4 sides of paper here.
Okay. Just to be clear, this is the assassin who shot the CEO of United Healthcare. He'd written deny,
depose, defend,
on the bullet casings.
Phrase that was in a leaked document of United Healthcare's approach to insurance claims.
Yeah. And he shot him in cold blood, and the NYPD initially circulated a photo of some random bloke in a Starbucks who it transpired was wearing a different coat to the assassin, quite obviously. I think.
I don't know if this one is on here, but I found a fan fiction that was written from the perspective of the girl who served him in Starbucks. Would you like to hear some?
A narration?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love that. 3
bullets by Anonymous. You let yourself into the hotel room. Actually, I'm going to start this again. I'm going to read it like it's like libertinism. You let yourself into the hotel room where you arrange to meet him. He looks up from the bed, surrounded by crumpled sheets, scattered paper, several maps, 3 burner phones, a bike clock key, and a silver case. Bit of a long list for this, this sexy fanfiction.
The eroticism is in the detail.
He smiled to see you walk in, and you smile back. You were not prepared for how hot he is. You met 6 months ago in an online support group for people who lost loved ones due to denied insurance claims. Everyone there was grieving, but no one else seemed prepared to do something about it. And then there's an ellipsis. Did you edit some stuff out of this? Okay, now we're into the good stuff. You tug his sweater over his head, your lips parting only for the moment to pull it off. You begin exploring the unfamiliar terrain of his chest, fingers bumping down every rib, tracing his pecs and strong biceps, his forearms. Your hands begin an unbearably slow journey down his torso towards the buckle of his pants. You're teasing him, building the tension, his lips still pressed against yours. Hungry. Near the belly button, your fingers find a scar you knew would be there from the accident that took his loved one. You did a good thing today, you say fiercely. That's the end of that one.
You must have edited out the graphic. That's not erotic fan fiction, is it? There's usually
that was pretty hot. Yeah, Laura did say there was a lot of smart she didn't feel comfortable posting onto a work computer. This is one where the United Healthcare CEO shoots her and Deadpool plan the shooting together.
What I will say is, I think fan fiction, erotic fan fiction as a medium, I'm okay with its existence.
Yep.
I would like the writing to be a bit better.
It's pretty bad.
I thought the first one was quite bad. I'm interested to see, conceptually, obviously this next one, ludicrous. Hopefully. Hopefully,
some realism.
Hopefully, I don't know. I just a bit of blank verse. I don't know. Keep it interesting.
Blank verse.
Maybe that'll be my entry into the canon.
Like the Sound and the Fury or something.
Yeah. Go on then. Yeah, let's have it.
Okay, this one's quite long, so I'm going to try and skip. Hey, there's the man of the hour, Wade exclaimed excitedly, standing in front of the bar. He had adorned his full Deadpool costume, minus the mask, under a set of casual black clothes. Do you think in the universe where Deadpool's real, do you think he calls it his Deadpool costume? Kind of takes you out of it. It's kind of like being Superman put on his Superman clothes. Batman put on his Batman mask. Spider-Man dressed up as Spider-Man.
I don't think they would. Yeah, I don't think they talk about themselves in the third person in that way. But I'm not familiar with the comic book canon. But obviously, the films Deadpool, he does break the fourth wall quite a lot. So.
Yeah, but this is a third person narrative. I think that's not from Deadpool's perspective.
Might I suggest we are at risk of over-intellectualizing this?
Okay. Nothing sexist happened yet either. The mercenary, brackets, the shooter, which was clear, I think, from that word choice, had a bag slung over his shoulder. You ready to drop them all dead, baby cakes? Foreshadowing. The man felt calm for the first time in weeks. He was more than ready. You bet, he replied, a small smile tugging at his mouth. Now, that's what I like to hear. It's less sexy than I thought this one would be. Wade sighed dramatically, leaning against the wall. If only you'd let me, I could show you the time of your life that would make even Satan repent. How tempting, he said, slinging the backpack over his shoulder. He slipped on a mask, concealing most of his face along with his hood. He took another breath, facing the street. Don't worry if you miss or anything. I've got a killer aim, literally. I'll take him out like that. But I doubt that slimy fucker will get away from you, big boy. This time Wade patted the man on the shoulder. While he wasn't as sexually aroused as Wade was, he still appreciated the support, no matter how slightly flirtatious it was in nature. Oh,
that was bad.
That was bad. It's not that...
I think the writer there was trying to create a sense of sort of sexual tension, but the sort of the key stage one literacy really was a barrier to achieving that. There's
one called Defend, Deny, Depose, and Drive Really Fast, from the perspective of a taxi driver. You are a taxi driver in New York. I think this is like the
is it like choose your own adventure?
I think so. You are a taxi driver in New York when you happen upon the infamous CEO killer. Of course, you did the obvious thing, help him hide from the cops and offer to let him stay with you in your apartment. A man is walking, no running, out of an alleyway and flagging you down. You leave the doors locked. You've gotten a gun pulled on you before by a guy like that, and like hell, you're becoming some guy's accomplice. Wait, that face, that's the guy, the CEO killer. You've spent enough time fantasizing to remember that face, and that's him. No one knows what he looks like. You unlock the doors as soon as you make the connection. He practically throws himself in the back. Take me to Central Park, he says, rushing his words. It's like he chose the first place he could think of to try not being suspicious. Oh shit, those sirens are for him, aren't they? Put your seatbelt on, I got this. You shift the car into drive and absolutely floor it. Here's your stop. The CEO killer starts to exit, but catches you mumbling, unless, under your breath, and he pauses. Unless what? He tilts his head in questioning. Oh, that was a mistake. You start to blush and stumble over your words. Well, you're kind of a wanted criminal now. And, do you need a place to stay? Your eyes are anywhere but looking at him. I could drop you off at my place and you could, stay there for as long as you need to. And that is how, on the same day, you go from fantasizing about the mysterious CEO killer to sharing an easy bake pizza with him in your apartment. Your life is about to get much stranger if it hasn't already.
Thank you for sharing that with me, Ed.
Do you have any thoughts?
I liked the beginning of that one. I would say the first 2 sentences, there was a hint of kind of first person, almost gonzo-y. It had a little bit
noir.
Of... it had LA noir. It had almost Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas type energy. That was quickly lost. And again, just appalling writing. Do these... do they compensate for sort of literary quality with sort of base...
with filth.
Sexual descriptions? Or what is it? What's the appeal of that?
That's what I'm interested in, because I don't know how many clicks this would have got. I don't know how the audience figures for this genre, especially as well when you think like...
I'm sure there's a pretty big fan community around this stuff.
But like there's so much like smut's gone mainstream. Like those fairy books that women love. Do we know what I'm talking about? Laura's nodding her head.
The fairy books that women love.
Akatar, A Crown of Thorns and Roses. It's about like fairies having sex. You were here when we talked about this on the podcast, were we not?
If we have, it has escaped my consciousness.
So if these people... if the good smut writers have gone pro and are no longer posting on the amateur forums, it's just shit left. Like the professional smut writers are no longer raking the news cycle for stories about assassins. Mm-hmm. There must be some Jelani stuff at this point as well.
It feels haram.
Well, he doesn't. So, do you have to be culturally sensitive?
No, I suppose not. Okay, let's try and make this interesting, because I feel like if anyone's still listening after listening to that stuff, not that it's a bad segment, interesting to good, but it's just bad to listen to. The public reaction,
right,
to the cold-blooded assassination of a man in the street, has split from open celebration and the creation of, I think, erotic fan fiction lacking in eroticism, but whatever it was that you just... that, to, I mean, the usual sort of, condemnation from figures that you would expect, police, politicians, establishment, media commentators, but generally speaking, the general public in America, their reaction to this has essentially been one of celebration. Are you okay with that?
I don't think that's actually the framing of the discussion. I think people aren't celebrating the guy being killed. That's not the emotion. The emotion is like it's like a cathartic exaltation of fuck this system. this system absolutely fucking sucks. This is a vector for us to communicate all our anger with this system. Yeah, people post like memes online about it, but I think if you ask the average person, even posting that, are they actually glad that someone was murdered? I don't think they are. I think they are happy there's an opportunity to air all these grievances and the opportunity to be funny online. I think if people aren't actually, there's now not like an armed insurrection against the CEOs of.
Well, we don't know, do we? It could strike again.
Could strike again, but there's not enough.
Where do you think he
fiction.
is?
The guy?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Russia as well. Him and Bashar Al-Assad.
Do you know what I thought was fascinating about Daniel Khalif? Like, didn't leave West London.
Yeah, mad.
Like, so you would think he's not in New York anymore, the assassin, but he could just be lingering.
I'm pretty sure, I think I saw the port authority said that he'd been cited there, so the NYPD's thesis was that he was no longer in New York.
But that was when the line was like, we saw him go into the port authority and we didn't see him come out, so we assume he got on a bus. Did you see there was a CEO killer lookalike competition in New York City?
I did.
If he had any balls, he's there. He's competing.
Okay, so so that then raises the spectre of professional hitman, in which case, no, you don't go to the lookalike competition.
No.
Or sick, thrill-seeking killer.
Yep.
In which case, that is prime time. That's exactly where you
It's
are.
quite Joker.
Yeah.
It's quite Joker pilled.
Have you seen the second one yet?
I've not seen either of them.
Oh, the first one was really good.
Was it?
Yeah, I
He
really
won
enjoyed the first
the
one.
Oscar for that, which I was surprised at.
I think he did. You just said you hadn't seen it?
No, but I didn't. Sorry, sorry. When it said, I was reading about Joaquin Phoenix. It was like he said he'd won an Oscar. I was like, what did he win an Oscar for? And then it was like, was it Johnny Cash? Did he win an Oscar for that as well? For Walk the Line?
I don't know if he won an Oscar for that. I haven't seen that. I wouldn't dare to pass comment upon his performance in that, having not seen it.
I was surprised that it was Joker. I couldn't because I was like, Joaquin Phoenix is a good.
That was really good.
actor.
It was. I mean, it was really good. The first one.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the second one is kind of. They felt the need to because the first one was interpreted, shall we say,
By incels.
in the wrong way, but as the authorities of Hollywood deigned. So they sort of felt the need to kind of, I think, morally destroy / present him as not an anti-hero, but a scumbag. That being said, I haven't watched it, but that's what I understand the film to be.
If they found the CEO killer,
Yeah.
and it turns out he was just like an armed incel, that would really suck the wind out of the sails of this
It would.
celebration.
I
culture.
think we're probably, my read, professional hitman. There's like some stock sell-off that the guy was involved in. He was being sued for like $120 million. I think it probably has something to do with that. Or
a particularly aggrieved
yeah,
party who've had their
Shafted
insurance
by their, yeah.
rejected.
yeah, exactly.
It's insane. Just
It's yeah. I mean, as an investigation goes, millions of people have a motive.
yeah, it's quite hard to track everyone down. We were talking about you've not watched Day of the Jackal, have you?
No, I intend to.
It's very good, and it is about
Assassins.
an assassin.
Really?
Yes, believe it or not. So maybe season 2 will be about
By
this
the time
guy.
I get around to watching it, yeah. Worth watching, is it?
Yeah,
The Jackal?
really
Yeah.
good. Do you know what's not? Have you watched the June TV show?
No, I deliberately avoided it.
Why?
Enjoyed the films.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw it being advertised. I went, wow, that looks eerily similar to. It's not just like some shit spin-off. It actually looks like it's been done in collaboration with them, done properly. And the cast looked quite good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Strong, I think, and others. I don't know. I didn't want it to ruin it for me.
I don't think it will because it's set like 10,000 years before June. But then they talked about like when they said that, and then Mark Strong as the emperor is like, "Oh, the Fremen are giving me trouble on Arrakis." I was like, "Well, how can they still be doing that? How has the geopolitics not changed? How are they still doing the exact same thing? How has your culture not changed at all?" And then also as well, there's like,
Your empire fucking sucks.
yeah, like, or is it so stable?
Yes. Yeah.
But then also as well, there's like a nightclub on one planet. I was like, there's not nightclubs in June in that world. It's completely taking me out of it. Do you know about?
What do you find less believable? The existence of the nightclub, or that like when the fucking Emperor's vizier goes to get the Sardaukar to fight for him, there's like 10,000 men suspended upside down, being harvested for their blood for some undivined purpose.
Well, I think in that world, you've moved past nightclubs. Like it wasn't like a pretty wacky nightclub. It was like this universe is
Within the narrative of Western decline, the decadent West has fallen.
It just looked like a normal nightclub, and they were kind of like one was wearing a leather jacket. I was like, oh, this is really taking me out of it.
I take your point though, because I think the aesthetics of this films are sort of one of the reasons why I find it so spectacular.
And the TV show's Baron Harkonnen, just a guy, looks normal.
Oh, he's not a ginormous fat worm.
Kind of dweeby. He's not like eating people.
I think we're probably coming up to time, Edward.
No,
You want to do more?
I think, well, we've just started talking about June, and Ava never lets us do that.
That's true.
Should we plug our Q&A?
Yes. Q&A in the Reddit. Send your submissions.
Yes.
Send us your questions. We'll answer as many as possible in our end of year Q&A.
Yes.
Anything else? Keep an eye out for Ed's porn school piece.
Yes.
That's going to be good. Well worth your time.
Yes. It is going to be good.
Keep an eye on Syria. Important to stay across events there.
Gaza.
Yeah.
You should be keeping an eye there.
Ukraine as well. Yeah.
Big.
Quite hectic there at the moment. I believe as well around January going to be some quite significant events in the United States that are worth paying attention to.
France.
Yes.
France also important. Somaliland.
What's going on there?
Oh, there must be something. God, I'd love to know.
Let Ed know.
I'll find out. Chagos Islands.
How many people
Gibraltar.
do you think make it to hear these mock call to actions at the end of the episode?
See, I kind of think that if you're clicking on this at all, you're in for the long haul.
I agree.
Like, I don't think you're like, well, prove me wrong. I'm tired of this. After 5 minutes, time to watch Mr. Beast now.
Yeah.
How many people, do you think anyone's ever had a PoliticsJOE video suggested after a Mr. Beast video?
No.
If he's chosen like best reviewer in the end card.
You can see, can't you, the other videos that are referring to your content, and I've never noticed a Mr. Beast video among them.
It's just news stuff that it's not, which is, I guess, makes sense.
But I think that will change when you do me and 100 porn stars live in a house for 36 hours. I think that is probably when
you'll never guess what happened.
Yeah, when those referrals will come.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, if you're running an OnlyFans, let us know.
Ed will come and make a documentary about you.
Yeah,
you've got to give him a discount link though. That's his condition.
A Vimeo review link.
You providing feedback.
That was actually
bad framing here.
That was actually
meets cold open.
One thing that, well, the whole thing was, lots of that day were slightly uncomfortable, but one thing was, two of the performers were like shooting content in the sex dungeon, and the idea was that Ollie, the videographer, would like capture some of that and like me watching it, I guess. But the performers said to me like, "Oh, what do you want me to do? What do you want us to do?" I was like, "Whatever you want." And they were like, "Oh." I was like, "I really don't want to be the one dictating what you do." That seems like a.
I suppose you probably need direction.
I don't. But then, if you're making content all the time, you should have. Are you not like self-directing?
Yeah, but imagine if like you went full send, right? So. Let's say those
two
guys start doing Max Mosley stuff,
and
you're like, whoa,
no,
that's not what we wanted to happen.
Not this. Take that armband off, sir.
They open themselves up to that eventuality if they depart from the direction of the script. But I do know what you mean about directing people. It is awkward.
It wasn't. I think directing people I would find fine. I think directing porn is maybe something that I struggled with. I think that's more the point. Normal shoot, yeah. I think I'd be quite happy.
Also,
doing
like,
that.
what do you say? Do you say like,
Oh, yeah.
do some hand stuff? Do you know what I mean?
Whipper.
Yeah. Well, much to ponder.
Absolutely.
The fate of Syria hangs in the balance. And how would I direct a porn shoot if I was required to?
Well, given your imagination about my sex life in the 80s and 90s, I think you handled it quite well.
That was more ideas around how I would blackmail you.
Right. And they just happened to pertain to me having sex.
Well, yeah,
The
it's
second
the
one
obvious
wasn't at
way.
all.
Honey trap is route one. That's how you
The
blackmail
second
someone.
one was me saying goodbye to my wife.
Number one source of blackmail, honey trap.
Number two.
What would you do?
With what? To blackmail you?
Yeah.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
Get you embroiled in... Get you elected to Parliament.
Right.
Oh, this is sexting as well, isn't it? Get you to engage in autoerotic asphyxiation and die.
Right, okay. You may struggle to blackmail me afterwards.
Save your life, cut you down.
Okay. And then demand payment.
Who was that MP? He's the greatest.
You should know.
I know. I love that story. I think it's so funny.
Maybe I won't make that joke. That's the end of the episode.
Yes. Officially?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Good.
Ed, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. We're recording 3 episodes on Wednesday.
We damn sure are.
Imagine the energy of number
Imagine
3.
the fatigue.
No.
See if they can tell.
Yeah, which one's which?
Thank you very much for listening to the podcast. We will see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.